All right, today we are diving deep into the world of workflow automation. This space is totally changing how we get things done, from the simplest little tasks all the way to super complex AI-driven operations. And we're going to focus on one tool in particular that's really making some serious waves: N8n. But first, just think about this for a second. What if a project, one that you'd normally block out an entire week for, 5 whole days of coding, debugging, and all that headache, what if you could get it done in about the time it takes to watch a movie? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right? But stick with me, because that's the key to understanding the massive shift we're about to talk about.
So let's go ahead and pull back the curtain. Let's look at the tool that is making this kind of wild efficiency not just possible, but a reality.
Okay, so to really get this, we first have to understand the problem. Before you can appreciate a solution, you really have to feel the pain point. And in this world, that's what we call the automation bottleneck.
A super common headache for any developer or data scientist is building these complex data pipelines. You'll hear them called ETL jobs. That just stands for extract, transform, and load. Basically, you're pulling data from one spot, messing with it, cleaning it up, and then loading it into another spot. It's totally fundamental, but man, it could be an incredibly slow and frustrating process.
So let's make this tangible with a real-world example. Picture this. You're tasked with a project. You need to collect all the tweets using the hashtag @OnThisDay. Then you got to store those tweets in one database, analyze each one to see if it's positive or negative, load that cleaned up data into a different database, and then, to top it all off, automatically post only the positive ones to a Slack channel. Phew, it's a lot of moving parts.
And how long did this take using the traditional old-school coding methods? Well, as the N8n blog post this is based on lays out, it took 5 full days. 5 days of fighting with Python libraries, setting up 2 different databases, and struggling with these complicated orchestration tools. In fact, the developer who did it said wrestling with Airflow was, and I quote, the most frustrating part. So with that 5-day nightmare fresh in our minds, let's bring in the hero of our story. What exactly is N8n?
Well, at its heart, N8n is an open-source tool for automating all these workflows. The key things to latch onto here are no-code/low-code, which means it's super accessible even if you're not a programming wizard, and its focus on building AI agents. Well, that tells you it was built from the ground up for this new age of artificial intelligence.
So what's the secret sauce? Let's break down what makes N8n so powerful. First off, you can self-host it. This is huge. It means you have total control over your data. Second, it's designed to be AI-powered, so connecting to big players like OpenAI or Google's Gemini is a breeze. It's also node-based. We'll get to that in a sec. And it's super flexible, which means it works for people who don't code at all and for expert developers too.
Okay, so this node-based thing, the absolute best way to get it is to just forget about code for a minute. Think of every step in your process: getting a tweet, analyzing it, posting to Slack. Think of each one as a single Lego brick. In N8n, these bricks are called nodes, and you just visually snap them together one after the other to build your entire automated workflow. It's that intuitive.
All right, theory's great, but let's see how this thing actually performs in the real world. We're going right back to that hashtag #OnThisDay project, but this time we're building it with N8n's digital Legos.
And here it is. This is the big reveal. That same project, the one that took 5 grueling days of coding, was built from scratch in N8n in just 1 hour. Let that sink in. That's not just a little better. It's a complete game changer in how you approach work.
So how did they do it so fast? Well, the whole thing breaks down into these 5 simple stages. A cron node acts like an alarm clock, kicking off the whole process every day. Then you've got nodes for Twitter and MongoDB that grab the tweets and store them. Step 3, a Google AI node reads the tweet and figures out the sentiment. After that, the data gets cleaned up and saved into that other Postgres database. And finally, a simple if node acts like a bouncer, only letting the positive tweets through to the Slack channel. Each step is just its own little configurable block.
Okay, so N8n sounds pretty awesome, but let's be real. It's not the only game in town. The automation world is packed with amazing tools. So how does it really stack up against the other big names you've probably heard of?
Yeah, let's put it right up against 2 of the giants in this space, Make and Zapier, because each of them has a totally different way of thinking about how automation should work.
When you lay them out side by side like this, some major differences just pop right out. The first thing you see, N8 is the only one that lets you self-host. That's a huge deal for data control.
When it comes to customization, N8 gives you a full-blown code editor, while Zapier is, well, pretty limited. But on the flip side, nobody beats Zapier on the sheer number of integrations. They have over 6,000. And Make kind of sits beautifully in the middle with a really powerful visual builder. So you see, they aren't just copies of each other, they're built for different people with different needs.
Which of course brings us to the most important question of all. Which one of these is the right tool for you and for what you're trying to build?
Okay, let's break it down. You're going to want to choose Zapier if your number one priority is just pure simplicity. If you need to connect to the biggest library of apps out there and your automations are pretty straightforward, Zapier is perfect. It's all about getting things up and running fast with zero code.
Now you should go with Make if you're looking for that sweet spot right in the middle. It's got this amazing super visual interface that can handle really complex stuff. It's a fantastic choice for teams where you've got a mix of technical skills. Some people can code, others can't. It really is that perfect balance of power and ease of use.
And finally, you choose N8n when what you really care about is power, control, and customization. If you're a developer, if you absolutely need to self-host and own your data, or if you're planning to build some seriously custom AI-driven workflows, N8n was made for you. It's the undisputed choice for the technical power user.
You know, there's a quote from Analytics Video that just nails it. They said, N8n is a unique workflow automation tool that is open source and tailored for the AI age. And that really is the perfect summary. It stands out from the crowd because it gives users this incredible depth and flexibility that's built for the future.
So, that kind of leaves us with one final thought. When you realize that a 5-day coding project can become a 1-hour task, the whole game changes. The question is no longer if you can automate your big idea, but simply, what will you choose to build? What amazing, complex, or creative thing would you bring to